Joining us now, Michael Levi, one of the world's experts on all the different things nuclear and particularly with radiation. Michael, good noon to you.
Good to be with you.
We just have headlines, which I'm sure you haven't seen here, of cesium and iodine levels in seawater way above appropriate levels, 24 times in the case of iodine, 126 times in the case of cesium. What does it signal to you that you see radiation in seawater, not our water table?
Well, they're clearly putting a lot of water onto the facilities, and some of that is getting into the sea. I don't want to speculate on the health impacts here. That's for health physicists to do. But people are obviously going to watch the situation and pay close attention to it. And the key is to have a lot of monitoring. One of the things that scares people when it comes to radiation is that it's invisible. They don't know what's going on. So the more monitoring you can have, the better people are going to feel, regardless of what those monitors say.
Yeah, Michael McKee with me. Jump in here with a question for Michael.
Yeah, well, the question I have is, in situations like that, in seawater or in the vegetation that they've reported finding radiation in, how quickly does that break down? We know that the nuclear fuel rods, the radiation there has a half-life of 30 or 60 years, which means centuries. But how quickly does this ancillary effect go away?
You need to know more about what's actually going on. We don't have enough data to speculate on that. I'm sure there are plenty of people willing to. But you need to know what sort of material is in there, how it got in there, what the pathway is. So people are going to have to do more analysis to determine what exactly the situation is.
Michael, bring up the op-ed if you would. What a splash you made with your 5 myths in the Washington Post. I mean, folks, everybody's been writing on this, but this really cut through the debris. Here it is from the Washington Post, Michael Levi, and you can see here, careful engineering can minimize the chance of disasters. It can't eliminate them. With what you've learned in the last few weeks, what's a single message as we get away from the crisis and move on with the industry? Where will the industry be in a few years?
The single message that I take is that you can't put 100% of your effort in any kind of catastrophic technology into prevention. Look, the worse the potential accident, the more we want to pretend that we can eliminate all risk. We did it last year with the oil spill, where we focused all of our offshore effort on making sure there was never going to be a spill, and when one happened, we didn't know what to do. Same thing with some of these nuclear power plant accidents. It's tough to admit that there might be problems, but there will be problems with everything, and we need to be prepared to deal with them. I'm not ready to call the future of nuclear power based on this one way or the other. We're going to have to see how the politics shake out. We're going to have to see what actually happens in Japan. This is far from over, but that's the one lesson we can already take away.
Michael, when you look at the plutonium issue and the mixed oxide issue, I thought that got less play this weekend. Was that correct? Should we push that aside and worry about cesium and iodine, or should we also focus on this mixed oxide question?
Well, look, the big question that still remains is how much material will be released from these reactors. If there's no material released or no significant amount released, it doesn't matter what the composition of that material is. If there's a lot released, then yes, the composition will come into play, but it will be problematic regardless. So there was a bit of a parlor game, frankly, for a few days of people talking about mixed oxide fuel versus normal fuel. The reality is that there's so much unknown that trying to get precision on any one element of the situation doesn't tell us where things will actually go.
Michael, jump in with another question.
Does that suggest that the de facto evacuation of Tokyo was the right thing to do?
I haven't seen an evacuation of Tokyo.
I mean, all the people who left, so many people left. As Sarah Eisen was talking about, all the people who went down to Osaka with her. Was that necessary? Was that the right thing to do?
I don't know that it was necessary. Look, I've always told people when you have nuclear fears, as long as you can do it in a non-disruptive way, if it makes you feel better to take different action, that's important. This is as much right now a psychological impact as anything else. And when we look back on these sorts of situations, that tends to be the outcome. Now, look, if things take a turn for the worse, that might not be the dominant factor. But right now, people need to do what they need to do to make themselves feel safer. And I'm not going to judge them on that.